Dark Souls is overrated as heck.
Now, far be it from me to call games overrated. I have also recently been playing Dark Souls for the first time. I believe I'm about 30-ish hours into the game. It is fantastic. I'm upset at myself for not having done it before. Would I say this game is overrated? No, not at all. And I guess this is my compromise for not reviewing Dark Souls, because some people have asked me to review it, but frankly, I don't think I can, because I really don't have that much negative to say about it. I am not a Dark Souls fanboy, as I, again, just started playing the game a few months ago. I think I started it on my birthday, which was March 3rd. Everyone say happy birthday, Joe, in the comments. And then I took a break and just got back into it like a week ago. I literally did nothing but play Dark Souls this weekend. I have a problem. It's really, really fucking good. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm only 2 seconds into his video, but basically this is what we're talking about today. Dark Souls is overrated by a YouTuber called Davo. And I know this video is on the older side. It's from May of 2018. But the stuff that he says in this video is kind of indicative of a larger problem with game criticism nowadays. What you're about to watch is not a review. It's a bitch fest disguised as a review. And you'd be forgiven for thinking this is just another modern YouTube review. Hence my issue with it.
Wait, no, hold on a sec. If you don't know what Dark Souls is, you've probably been in a coma for the last 7 years or so, because how could you not know what Dark Souls is, the way that some people religiously worship it?
And the way that some people religiously try to demean it.
Dark Souls is often praised for its innovativeness and that it was a groundbreaking title for the action role-playing genre and that we'd never really seen anything like it before.
And those praises are completely justified. Dark Souls completely changed action RPG combat. I was never really into RPGs in general because I really just wasn't a fan of like open world exploration and like really non-linear storytelling. It just wasn't really my thing, aside from games like The Witcher, of course. And before anyone yells at me, I know Dark Souls is also not technically open world, but just that's aside the point. The point is, Dark Souls did completely change action RPG combat and the way that a lot of games decide to tell their stories.
You'd swear dodge rolling was only in Dark Souls the way that some people go on about this game. Look, I'm not saying that the Souls series is bad. The games are good. They're good, but I don't think they're as amazing as everyone seems to think they are.
Which, again, is just something I don't really understand. I know I'm usually the first person to kind of shit on people's dreams and, post unpopular opinions about video games. I'm the guy that still defends Infinite Warfare, but I'm someone who doesn't, I really need to hammer this home. Before Dark Souls, I didn't like RPGs. And now I'm installing more so I can go play them once I finish my Dark Souls run. I never liked super non-linear storytelling in video games. And now I'm looking like every other day for leaks of a Bloodborne PC port. Dark Souls truly is that deserving of praise.
And now, From Software has so graciously given us Dark Souls Remastered. Or as it should be more fittingly called, Dark Souls Prepare to Buy Edition.
That one, I'm with you. The way that the Dark Souls Remaster was distributed was kind of lame. Like, the fact that I can't buy OG Dark Souls on Steam anymore is just kind of lame.
So now that Dark Souls is back in the news again and I can make a clickbaity video about it, it's time that we really sat down together and had a look back at this title and everything that makes it, and decide, is it really as good as we seem to think it is?
Yes. Yes, it is. But before we get into the meat of your argument, how about a little break for a sponsor? I'm not sponsored. I don't have any sponsors. But I found people seem to care more about your plugs when you put them a few minutes into the video than when you put them right at the beginning. So skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear my plugs, but I have a few plugs. My Twitter handle is on screen. You can follow me on Twitter and see my spicy hot takes and give me followers because my follower count makes my butt feel good. I also have a donation link in the description if you want to help me pay my bills or if you want to send me an early wedding gift. I get married in less than a month, which is nutty to me. But most importantly, I have somewhat revamped my music channel. I made a music channel a while back to post a bunch of random punk demos, and then I also uploaded my band's first album. If you want to go listen to that, it's also on Spotify and Apple Music, and everywhere you stream your music, just search Curbside Anthem. But I have also decided that in the off time between Joe from Seattle videos, I'm going to start posting ranking videos and tier list videos based on bands that I like or genres I like, and just basic discussions about music over there. I uploaded my first video yesterday. A video ranking all of the Blink-182 albums from worst to best. I'm going to be taking recommendations in the comments for which band I should do next, even though I have a few in mind so I can, get my backlog going and get content flowing over there. So if you want to hear more music opinions from me, head over to my music channel, because I'm going to be doing a bunch of tier lists and ranking videos over there based on music that I like in between new Curbside Anthem releases, which, by the way, new Curbside Anthem album, I hope to have it out by the end of the year. If not, then by next spring, depending on how many times I delay this one. Links to all of those things are in the description. Thank you for listening. Thank you all for supporting the channel. The growth this year has been fucking nutty. And let's continue with the worst Dark Souls review I've ever seen.
This game is just Monster Hunter but easy. Dodge rolls with invincibility frames? Yeah, pretty sure I'm playing Monster Hunter.
Because Monster Hunter invented invincibility frames during dodges? No?
Oh, I cut his tail off for an extra drop. Yeah, this is definitely Monster Hunter. For real though, there's a fine line between difficult and unfair. Dark Souls is constantly towing this line.
No, it's really not. Dark Souls, I have to say, is one of the fairest games I've ever played. Also one of the most difficult, but the Dark Souls brand of difficulty is a lot of trial and error, and the game is specifically designed for that kind of trial and error. At no point do you feel like the game is fucking you about because fuck you. It's like Doom in that sense. But honestly, I think it's even more fair than Doom. Because, you know, in Doom, you have a whole 360 range of enemies with projectile attacks. In Dark Souls, the enemies are much more condensed on screen. Most of the fights are with 1 to 3 enemies tops. And if a fight's not going so well, you can run away from pretty much every combat encounter. We'll get more into the actual mechanics of the game as this video goes along, because he has a lot of really fucking stupid things to say about said mechanics. But as someone who is brand new to Dark Souls, the footage you're watching is my first run ever of Dark Souls. This game is completely fair, and at no point have I ever felt this game was just fucking me about.
You can say get good all you want, doesn't change the fact that some of the stuff that happens in this game is just straight up unfair, whether RNG patterns or the poor technicalities of how the game works.
He says as he's running through a group of ghosts without even trying to defend himself or using any kind of buffs. And like, I know which part of the game that was. I forget the name of it, but it's, you know, the downstairs area from Firelink Shrine. I haven't done that part yet because I don't have the necessary stuff to deal with those enemies. You see how that works?
Getting stun-locked and killed while you're helpless on the ground and unable to recover at all? Dark Souls has plenty of that in it.
Whenever you get stun-locked, it's because you did something wrong. All of the attacks in this game are pretty heavily telegraphed. That's part of the reason people say get good, because every single enemy's attacks are very telegraphed. That doesn't mean they're telegraphed for a long time, but it also means that once you play the game a little bit, nothing's going to take you by surprise. Whenever you get stun-locked to death, which is a thing that happens, usually in group fights, it's only because you did a bad move or you made a risky attack. This sounds like you just aren't happy with the consequences of your actions.
To be fair, so does Monster Hunter, so my original point is still valid. The camera angle in Dark Souls is honestly what really makes the game hard. Coupled with an annoying targeting system, your vision is often obscured or not really pointing where you need it to be without incredible effort and luck.
Okay, play that clip again, full screen right here. Let's full screen this so you can get a sense of what he's really upset about here.
Coupled with an annoying targeting system, your vision is often obscured or not really pointing where you need it to be without incredible effort and luck.
Coupled with an annoying targeting system, your vision is often obscured. Coupled with an annoying targeting system, your vision is often obscured. Coupled with an annoying targeting system, your
I was actually on board with what you were saying about the camera angle. I really don't like how close it is. It's the same problem I had with God of War 2018, but to a lesser extent. The camera is a little close to your character, I'll give you that. I wish I could adjust that. But as for the targeting system is honestly one of the better RPG targeting systems I've used. Going back to what I said before about how I never really liked the combat in RPG games, or I've just really never gotten into RPG games. I forget if I said why, but just in case I didn't say why, I haven't really gotten into RPGs for the most part, because for the most part, RPG games have fucking terrible combat. You click the right stick to target the closest enemy, and then you hit left and right on the right stick to toggle between enemies, and you click the right stick again to completely turn off the targeting. Let me repeat that. You click one button on the controller to completely turn off the targeting system. What was that I said about how you just sound upset at the consequences of your own actions? I'm all for criticizing elements of bad game design, but this just ain't it.
A big issue in terms of longevity with this game is that once you hit a certain point, the game really starts to feel a little streamlined and simplified.
Good fucking lord, 13,000 souls? 99 humanity? Teach me to sing like you.
Particularly in comparison to the earlier parts of the game. The map becomes less intertwined and there's more backtrack and general confusion. Much like an Australian internet connection, after a few hours it really just starts to drop off.
I get it, because your internet's upside down in Australia.
Bazinga!
But anyways, are you seriously griping with the fact that this game, based around beefing up your character, gets easier the more that you play? That's not a criticism. Now, if you don't enjoy the point of the game, that's completely fine. That's completely valid. But it's not a criticism.
Sure, the earlier parts of the game are meant to capture your interest and whatever, but that doesn't excuse the fact that the later part of the games are just flat out worse and less engaging.
I actually completely disagree. I think the beginning of Dark Souls is actually less engaging, because the game trusts you to figure everything out about it on your own. Or, I guess if you play it now, it's on your own. If you played it back when the servers were still up, I guess it was a game that kind of relied on shared knowledge between players and people telling each other the little secrets and figuring out all the little aspects of this world. That's why the Dark Souls footage I used a few months ago was so bad, because I was going in blind. That's the whole point of the game. You go into Dark Souls blind, it doesn't tell you a whole lot, and you figure it out for yourself. The more you figure out about the game, the easier the game becomes. And then you can start really, embracing the combat, embracing the story, embracing the world, embracing the characters, embracing the leveling. You're just describing Dark Souls in a shitty tone of voice and passing that off as criticism. You haven't actually made any critiques. And again, like I said, it's okay if you don't like Dark Souls. It's okay if this kind of game isn't for you. But that's not a criticism.
That's just poor judgment and development. The way that multiplayer works is weird and stupid. There's no way to just do straight up co-op. You have to summon your friends into your world with some dumbass ritualistic shit. Could they really not have just implemented some kind of, actual multiplayer feature that isn't inconvenient and obscure?
Maybe that wasn't part of their design. Maybe that would kind of break the whole point of the story. Did you pay attention at all?
I get that perhaps it might not suit the lore or whatever, but it's just dumb.
Oh no, you were paying attention, it's just you don't care. Got it.
The one that's in place just doesn't work most of the time. You'll try to summon someone, it'll take a minute or two before it just says, nah, it's fucked, mate.
Didn't you say you were in Australia, though? And also, you can play the game in offline mode and just summon NPCs, which, frankly, are a little overpowered. The NPC companions that you can summon in Dark Souls 1 are a little busted. It's almost like they were accounting for what you just described when they made the game.
Overall, I find that the game can just be rather repetitive between having to do stuff over and over again because you keep dying or whatever.
Get good.
The way you go about progressing and the way you engage in combat doesn't really diversify throughout the game.
Well, if you don't get good, it doesn't. I also find it interesting that all of the gameplay you've been showing has been pretty much just from Undeadburg, which is the first area of the game. Almost like you didn't really play that far. Granted, you may have played the game before, and you're just doing a fresh run on the remastered version to get the gameplay for this video. And I know I'm not much further in the gameplay that I'm using, but it just doesn't bode well when you are so grossly misunderstanding the point of a game, and the gameplay you're showing is pretty much exclusively from the first area. It just doesn't make me very eager to take you seriously.
And yeah, it's an RPG, so I guess it's meant to have some sense of grindiness about it, but it really doesn't help you retain your interest.
It does, though? The grindiness to level your character can get a little repetitive, yeah. But maybe it's just me? I kinda like that. I kinda like that I spent 3-4 hours just running around the depths, or just running around Blight Town, just trying to level my character and just trying to farm souls and find the most optimal route from this bonfire to this bonfire. How many souls do I get doing this? How fast can I level my character doing this route versus doing this route so I can beef up my guy before I go into the next boss area? That's the whole gameplay loop. That's the whole point. That's what makes the game so fun, especially after you've figured out all of the mechanics basically on your own, because that's the whole point of the structure of the game. You're describing the whole cathartic effect of Dark Souls.
It just seems to be one of those games where you should probably have the wiki open while you're playing, or have someone who's already beaten the game standing over your shoulder telling you everything you have to do.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Unless that person is a Dark Souls elitist.
Okay, so the first section was the gameplay and the mechanics. You made no specific arguments against the gameplay and mechanics, minus the connection issues, which you admitted were not even the fault of the developer because you live in Australia, which has notoriously shitty internet. But it seems like this section, the community, it seems like this is maybe what you should have only made the video about, because you didn't really say anything about the gameplay and mechanics.
The real issue with Dark Souls is the community and their attitude towards the game itself and other people who play the game.
And I can't wait for this video that I'm making to be written off as just coming from a Dark Souls elitist, opinion doesn't matter. No, Dark Souls elitist, doesn't matter. I don't have to be an elitist to recognize that you're a bad critic. You don't have to be an elitist to recognize when someone's being a bad critic. I've responded to bad critics of games I've never played before because that's how bad the video was.
The whole get good culture around the game is just petty and obnoxious. Just because a game is hard doesn't mean it's good.
In a game like Dark Souls, get good genuinely is a valid argument. Because like I said, this game is extremely fair. It's built around trial and error. It's built around learning and paying attention. If you don't do that, no shit, you won't get very far. And it's also really no coincidence to me that the people who so vehemently disagree with the Dark Souls praise are also the people who don't do that. They're the people who don't like putting time in and getting good at games. They're the people who don't like accepting that, oh, maybe I made a mistake. That was my bad. I'll keep trying. I'll keep adjusting my game plan. I just don't find it to be any coincidence that there's a whole lot of rollover between those two groups of people. The people who don't like Dark Souls and the people who don't like having to actually put effort into things.
And just because you beat a hard game doesn't mean you're some kind of superior being.
Yeah, if you think you're a superior being because you beat a hard game, you're stupid. Also, completely unrelated, I've beat both Doom and Doom Eternal on Nightmare mode. I deserve your subs. Sub to me.
Look, I'm not saying that the entire community is terrible, and I'll admit there's been some good stuff that's come from the community.
It's weird because you kind of implied that the whole community was terrible, like less than a minute ago.
But you can't argue that a lot of the stuff that comes from the fanbase is TM06 toxic.
Are you going to give examples? Screenshots, perhaps? Because that's another common thread of the people who don't like Dark Souls. They like to say that the community sucks and the community's toxic, which I'm not going to deny. There's toxicity in every community. There's toxicity in every gaming community out there. But I would love at least one concrete example.
And that, coupled with the fact that the game is already unintuitive, makes it difficult for newcomers to really get immersed in the series.
The game is not unintuitive. Do you know what unintuitive means? Fuck. Okay, I saved it. I drank a fuckload of water. I drink so much water because I'm healthy. But I also love to keep open water containers right next to wherever I'm sitting. And that's the second time in like 3 days I've spilled water on or around my keyboard. And one day I'm going to get it in the keyboard. I need to stop doing that. Unintuitive, not easily graspable by intuition, counter to what one's intuition expects. Now, is that what Dark Souls is? No. Dark Souls is not counterintuitive. It just trusts you to put things together on your own. Like what is an unintuitive game? Like, you know those crafting systems that a lot of games have where it's like, you got a piece of rock and 3 sticks? Boom. AK-47. That's a little unintuitive. Or like in Overwatch, how there's a stupid fucking ninja character who can deflect melee attacks? That's a little unintuitive. But even then, I don't even know if I would call that unintuitive, because it makes sense in the context of that game, even if it makes no fucking sense by any logical reason. The point I'm making is Dark Souls is not unintuitive, it's just indirect. It's not unintuitive, it's just vague. The game expects more from you than most other games do. And that's not a bad thing. That's not unintuitive. That's not counterproductive. It just requires you to think a little more. Everything in the game is consistent. Everything in the game makes sense. You just have to figure it out for yourself.
It's almost like some cool kids club where you're not allowed to sit with them at lunch unless you beat the entire game with that broken sword you get at the start.
I don't understand people who argue that like the Dark Souls community sucks, the Dark Souls community is super toxic, which again, you haven't given any example of yet. But like, how did this game get so big in the first place? You recognize that the Dark Souls community, the people that you see online, on Twitter, and on in YouTube comments, how many copies has this franchise sold? If the game required you to be part of this toxic community or have this toxic mindset, how is it selling so fucking well? The majority of people who play Dark Souls are just playing on their own. They're not engaging in these things. Stop giving the toxic part of the community the validation that you so obviously don't want them to have.
Because if you can't, you're obviously just some kind of animal. Possibly the worst part of Dark Souls Legacy is its disdainful use as a comparison to any video game that is hard, as if to imply that it was the first video game to ever be difficult.
Funny that you use an exact example of that, but not an actual example of toxic. But as for what you just said, yeah, I agree with you. The constant comparing of everything hard to Dark Souls is fucking stupid. Stop doing it. Just because the game is hard doesn't mean it's like Dark Souls.
Or something. In all honesty, it's lazy journalism, yes, but this overhyped culture that portrays this game as more or less some kind of physically painful endurance test that you should be praised for playing and completing definitely contributes towards this.
Okay, so we're just skipping ahead from that section, which, again, you made a bunch of claims about the community and the things that the community thinks with zero evidence. And again, I'm not denying that these people exist. I'm not denying that these mindsets exist. But this is just a really fucking garbage way to talk about it. You're blowing up an issue that doesn't even have to be an issue if you don't want it to be.
So, it's finally here, the $20 patch for the original Dark Souls, which, by the way, has been pulled off the Steam store, so if you wanted to get Dark Souls on PC, you'd best be
Prepared to buy.
And surprisingly, it's somewhat thoroughly underwhelming.
I can't say a whole lot about this, other than the fact that I agree with that the business model and the way that they distributed the remaster, at least on PC, was really stupid. I have never played the original version of Dark Souls. I've only played the remastered version. I think the remastered version is a great game. Like, in terms of just being a game running on modern hardware, I think it's fantastic. Like, I think it runs well, it looks nice, plays well. But I can't compare it to the original version. I never played the original version.
As explored earlier, the original Dark Souls has quite a few technical issues that were just completely ignored in this remaster, and instead they just made the world look a bit prettier and can now charge you twice as much for it.
What technical issues are there that are bothering you so much? I haven't experienced any.
Unless of course you already own Dark Souls on Steam, in which case they so graciously give you access to the remaster for half price. But you might as well not bother if you already own the original. Unless the visuals genuinely hurt your eyes, in which case I can't really blame you if they do.
I'm really trying not to sound like the get good guy that you have been describing throughout this video, because I know that's just going to make people want to write off what I'm saying. But assuming the gameplay in the background of your video is you, it's bad. It's bad.
It is good, however, to see members of the community actually coming forward and expressing their discontent with the remaster's release.
You'll show evidence of the community doing something good, but the community is still toxic because of evidence you won't show. Got it.
It's good that releases like this aren't just held in some kind of godly regard because of the original game's legacy, which I think is a little overhyped anyway. In reality, the whole Dark Souls Remastered thing seems just like a cheeky little cash grab by From Software, but can you blame them?
You're right about it being a cash grab. No, you can't really blame them. Yeah. I'm with you there.
When you've got an audience that so religiously plays your games, you might as well take advantage of that. In the end, Dark Souls almost leaves me at odds with myself. Sometimes when I'm playing this game, I get a real surge of excitement and I want to play on, and then a minute later, it's totally gone, whether to me dying or me getting frustrated with the controls.
Did you just walk into a stationary thing of fire twice?
And then a minute later, it's totally gone, whether to me dying or me getting frustrated with the controls.
You just walked into a stationary thing of fire twice. And not to sound like a Dark Souls elitist, but throughout all the gameplay that we've been watching here, your health and stamina bars have remained pretty much the same the whole time, which leads me to believe you're not leveling up. Why?
Sometimes I don't really know how I feel about the game. The game certainly isn't a shambles. There's a really solid lore and setting that isn't just thrown at you by cutscenes and codex entries, and the exploration aspect and map design is really superb for the most part.
Didn't you say before that that was bad?
But when you really examine some of the game mechanics and how the game plays out, I really don't think it's quite the godsend that some people would like to have us believe it is.
Yes, because of all those examples of problems that you gave, like Australian internet.
When you really stand back and take a look at Dark Souls, you have to admit that there's quite a few issues with it on a technical level.
You haven't given any technical issues though, other than the connection. Why did you make this? You're doing the final verdict now and you keep referring to the technical issues. What technical issues? Genuinely, I want to know so I can look out for them. Hang on, let me check my Steam. I want to see exactly how many hours I've put into this game so far. I am 35.4 hours into this game. I have experienced legitimately no technical issues. I have not crashed. I have not stuttered. I don't even think I've had a single frame drop.
And just ignoring them is, well, ignorant.
It's kind of hard for me to ignore something if you won't tell me what the something is.
Not to mention the fact that throughout my playthrough of Dark Souls, I did not see a single whooper anywhere, which is just a terrible design choice to be perfectly honest.
Completely agree. I need more mudkip in Dark Souls.
Look, From Software, I'm not angry. I'm not disappointed either because
That was a joke. Just so we're clear, that was a joke. The mudkip, that was a joke. I know that wasn't mudkip.
didn't really care all that much about the remaster's release, and I'm only here for some juicy clickbait views, but I think you get a little more credit than you deserve. When it comes down to it, if you didn't beat Dark Souls, or you didn't enjoy playing Dark Souls, that doesn't make you a fake.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. But what does make you a fake is making a completely baseless and evidenceless video about the game being overrated. If you're going to call the game overrated, which there's nothing wrong with saying, you have to back that shit up.
Beating Dark Souls doesn't make you a better person. Beating Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, now that makes you a better person.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, great. Good jokes. This sucked. I hated it. Play Dark Souls. It's good. It's very, very good. Okay. Doodles.